Welcome to Moss Marketing Mondays, aka the M3 Podcast. Brought to you by Moss Marketing Group, bringing you everything marketing every Monday. Stay tuned for marketing tips and tricks you can use today. The M3 Podcast, marketing knowledge to help you succeed. Let's get started.
Welcome back to the M3 Podcast. This week we are lucky to have Herb from Claycomo Shooters.
Thank you, sir.
And thank you for being here. We have Ricky and Dre on the couch also.
What's up? We're back.
But you have a very decorated background, and we have recently met, and I was kind of blown away from when we first met. That sounded like a love story, kind of.
It was love at first sight.
I know.
Start from the beginning, Dane. Tell me all about it.
It's like, what type of podcast is this?
No, but you have a crazy background on everything that you have done and leading you up to where Claycomo Shooters is now. So let's start in the beginning of your story on the story of Herb.
Like work-wise or?
Let's start all the way at the very beginning. A kid coming up.
Grew up in a little town called Waukee, Iowa. Worked on a farm most of my life. Moved to Southern California.
Plot twist.
Yeah.
Big plot.
What was in Southern California?
My dad worked for United Airlines, and we transferred to there. And I went from a school that was from kindergarten to 12th grade to a 6th grade that had 4 classes. Yeah, it's bad.
That's a big change.
It was crazy. Then we moved back to Kansas City my freshman year. I graduated from Park Hill. Went in the Air Force right after high school. Wasn't smart enough to get in college, apparently. And
It's overrated.
did 7 years in the United States Air Force. I was a canine handler in the EST, which is an emergency services team, which is a SWAT team in the Air Force. I got out of the Air Force and I went to the Platte County Sheriff's Department, Kansas City, Missouri. I spent almost 15 years there, where road patrol, and I moved my way up to detectives. So I was a lead major crimes detective and also a team leader on the SWAT team. After 9/11, I applied and was accepted for the United States Air Marshals, and that's where I retired from after 29 years total.
Very cool.
Here I am.
Here you are, and you've ended up on the M3 Podcast.
That's it.
I love it. I feel like years of doing that, you probably have some of the craziest stories. And we've had Lance on here, and you and Lance are friends.
Yes, we are.
And I feel that having you two probably in the same room together, there's probably going to be a third podcast. It's going to be both you guys on here.
It'd be a good one. We got some great Lance stories.
I know. It'd probably just be me saying like, hey, welcome to the M3 Podcast. And then at the end, I'd be like, Key, Ricky.
Quick, just a real quick introduction and then just roll.
Just roll. So what out of all those different badass jobs that you had, which one was your favorite?
Probably the Air Marshal gig.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a good time. I mean, we flew a lot of flights, pretty close to 100,000 miles every month.
Wow.
A month?
Yep. Relatively easy for me to get my top secret security clearance. I had it in the military. And once I got to the Air Marshals, my top secret went quicker than some of the other guys that had never had one. So I did a lot of overseas flights to start with. I've been to London, 150 times.
Wow.
A lot.
So I don't think that I evidently really know what an air marshal does. I think they do. Are you pretty much you're on a plane all the time, or?
Yeah, you're on a plane all the time, and you're there for terrorists. That's what you do.
Wow.
So you just stare people down when they're getting on? And
Anti-terrorism, yep.
So then, like, when you go over to London, are you jumping on a plane straight back?
Nope, spend the night. Come back.
So is it kind of on their dime that they put you up over there?
Oh, yeah. You got everything was paid for. Work for the government. I mean,
sounds like a pretty good gig.
It was a pretty good gig.
Was there any longer than overnight stays, or was it just you?
Yeah, when you went to Japan, you go to Japan and you're housed out of Tokyo. You'd fly to Korea, Philippines, Vietnam, Ho Chi Minh City, back to Japan, spend the night. You did that for 3 weeks at a time usually.
So when you're making all those flights over there, are those on U.S. planes?
Yes, U.S. carriers.
So,
I was gonna say I have a hard time flying to like Miami. I don't think I'd be good at that.
No, it was a good gig.
So what did you do though? Because I might be wrong on this, but did they have TVs on all the planes yet?
Yeah, we got to think about air.
Whoa, Dane.
I feel like just recently, I still get on I have like 50-60% of the planes I get on now still don't have TVs.
The good thing with air marshals is, unless you're on Southwest or Frontier, you flew first class. The threat on the aircraft is where? Cockpit. That's what you're protecting. So they don't take over the cockpit, crash the plane into a building.
So you got to fly first class.
First class, most
That
of the
makes
time.
sense.
Yep.
That makes it even better.
That makes it a little more palatable.
That was better. It was a great single guy job.
Yeah, I bet.
I would imagine.
So we need to hear some stories of like when you landed, how that went.
Wanted to turn the radio off. Yeah, well,
those would be the after hours podcast.
that's right.
So that was the coolest one. What did working in Air Force SWAT division type, what did that look like?
You just did assaults on sometimes airplanes, practice stuff, any deranged people in barracks, just generic stuff that you would call a civilian SWAT team out for.
Yeah, like generic stuff, like a typical Thursday.
Right. Exactly.
Crazy person on a Thursday.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, really downplays what he's doing.
And I was a narcotics dog handler. I did that for the entire time I was in too. So yeah, it was cool.
Same like normal thing. Just found 100 bricks of drugs.
Oh, you'd
Just
search
normal Tuesday.
You'd search cantonment areas, which are military neighborhoods, stuff like that. C-5 airplanes, stuff coming in and out of the bases, from overseas. Yeah, you'd search all kinds of stuff.
So on that, were you doing much overseas, or was that all pretty much U.S. based?
I was stationed at Warren Robins Air Force Base in Georgia. I went from there to Kunsan, Korea, where I spent a little over a year. Yeah, that was interesting. And then finished up 4 years at March Air Force Base in Riverside, California.
So what did it look like living in Korea for a year?
Different. Smells like kimchi.
Ooh.
Entire country.
Old country.
My dad, when I was growing up, used to eat kimchi all the time.
You probably never want to smell that again, do you?
Oh, I'm good. And I was stationed in Kunsan, which is one of the only nuclear bases in Korea. So it was a remote tour, so they didn't have a lot of amenities some of the other bases had. I mean, really never had milk the entire time we were there, and lots of chopsticks, wooden spoons in the chow hall. Yeah.
So when you were over there, what did you do?
I was sentry canine guy. I humped on the fence line, just walked the fence line 12 hours a night, 6 days a week.
You were on night shift?
Yeah. That's when the people try to come over the fence onto the base, infiltrate the base. So you're out there with a dog just walking.
Definitely always got your steps in.
12 hours. Yes, I did.
How often were people like trying to get in?
On a pretty regular basis. Yep.
Like when you say regular, like once a week?
Oh, every night.
Every
Oh,
night.
wow.
Oh, yeah. We had several different. I mean, we had 18 or 19 canine handlers out on the perimeter in the benjo grass, walking next to the fence, and then you had fire teams rolling around and peacekeepers on the flight lines, and yeah, it was cool.
So the shit you see in the movies is real.
Yeah, a lot of it. Yeah. We rationed. You could get Budweiser. We had ration card. Actually, you had ration cards, and so you go to the base BX and you get like a case of Budweiser beer, which is the worst beer in the world for me. You could get a 10-pound bag of Washington Red Delicious apples, which you traded when you went downtown.
They not have apples there?
No, not really. Not in
So what would you trade your apples for?
a blowjob.
Oh,
That's a pretty good trade. That must have been a good apple, or it was either a good apple or a bad blowjob.
yeah, one of the two.
He doesn't know. He didn't eat the apple.
I was
Never
actually
had an apple.
I was actually lucky because my roommate was a married guy, and
Are I got his apples.
I did get his apples. I traded him orange high C for apples.
Oh,
What it cost for his apples?
Orange high C.
yeah,
I traded him orange high C.
That's code.
yeah. So, was that probably your most unique? I'd say base that you stayed at, and unique part of
it
being
was
there?
cool. And real quick story. I was working at the sheriff's department, and everybody started out in the detention. And I'd worked in detention for a while, and I went to the road patrol. I came in, and they had a new jailer. Her name was first name Kim, and she was Korean. And we got to talking and stuff like that. And she had made mention that she was turned out to be Amerasian, American soldier probably, and a Korean woman, but she'd grown up in an orphanage. And I told her that I was from Coon, I'd been in Coonson. She goes, that's where my orphanage was at. Turns out me and a guy named Peter D. Clifford on Sundays, which was our day off, would go to this orphanage and take candy that we got from the base and give it to all the kids. She was one of those kids. How cool is that?
That's insane.
That's crazy.
Small
I
world, dude.
feel like that gives me chills.
Yep.
Yeah, I have chills right now.
True story.
And she ended up here.
Yep.
That I don't really know
wild.
how, like, when people come from foreign countries to the United States, that how many people come here and they end up in Kansas City. Like, if you go to a foreign country, like I was in Spain for a while. Mm-hmm. You tell them you're from the United States. Are you from New York? Like, no. Oh, you must be from Los Angeles.
Yeah, gotta be.
Right.
It's literally those two places.
Right.
I'm like, there's a lot more country out there.
In the middle.
Yeah. And when they come over, I just feel like it's crazy that they would end up anywhere close to here.
That is pretty wild.
It was cool. I'm glad I went.
Yeah.
Did you have a choice, or was that like
Oh,
one
no,
of the
there's
sta-
no choices.
Glad they
It's a
said
good outlook to have. Then.
You got these papers called orders. You're leaving here. Be ready.
see you in a year.
Right, exactly.
So do you think the Air Force, out of all the positions that you have or had, what do you think was the most beneficial learning division that you were in that taught you the most?
That's hard to say. I mean, that's a tough question. I'd say probably the military first because I went in as 18 years old. It caused me to pull my head completely out of my ass, the first 24 hours I was in, and disciplined. And I mean, it set me who I am today,
Yeah. Do you think there was any big key learning points or like turning points in those other positions in the Air Force or as an air marshal or law enforcement?
Turning points as in what?
And like, I don't know, pivotal learning points that you had that you're like, this was something I really remember that kind of changed what it looked like.
No.
If that makes no.
The whole thing was, it's public service. I mean, it's kind of what I'm doing now,
Now at Claycomo Shooters,
Yeah.
come in full circle back around to where we're at. But what got you into opening a shooting range and a gun shop?
Well, a buddy of mine named Shane O'Rourke, who is the owner of Claycomo Shooters, actually in 1990, Shane was hired on with the Platte County Sheriff's Department as an 18-year-old snot-nosed dispatcher. So that's how I met him. He was my dispatcher, and we just became friends. And he did his 3 years to 21, and then he went to a police department, ended up at Kansas City for a lot of years, and started his own business and stuff. We stayed in contact the entire time, and we got in touch, and he's like, hey, I need you to run this range for me. So I'm like, okay. So initially we just opened the range, and then about 4 months later is when we opened the gun shop, and I just took over as the general manager. I don't have so much to do with the gun part of it so much. I've hired 2 guys to do that. I concentrate on the overall. I do all the ordering and stuff, but I don't sell guns.
Yeah.
That's not me. I do really concentrating on the training part of it. How can we actually make a difference in Kansas City?
And I feel that when we first sat down, there are so many different verticals in what you guys do that realistically I had no earthly idea about. Mm-hmm. When it comes to the different classes that you offer, with female classes taught by a female instructor. Like, I thought that was a huge, like, I don't know, positive point of something that you have, that a lot of people are scared of firearms. A lot of people are scared of weapons, but I feel most of the time that's because they've never been around them. And people who have never been around them are normally fearful of them. Mm-hmm. And you have people that are 50 years old that have still never been around a gun.
Absolutely.
And you set it on this table, and they're going to be like, oh, they're going to be like fearful of it. But people that understand how to use a gun and they're around a gun, 10 out of 10 times they're not fearful of how, if you set that gun there, it will sit at rest for the lifetime of it sitting there.
Absolutely.
That gun does not kill anyone. The person holding the gun is what does, and there's accidents that happen and different, like, I feel that's why gun safety and gun knowledge and how to handle guns is so important. And you guys have really tackled a lot of those classes. And what are all the different range of classes that you offer?
We still, when someone comes in and they want to start their self-protection journey, we don't teach target shooting. We teach we live in that 4 to 12 feet area, self-defense. So when we get a brand new person start their journey, we start them with a private lesson. That's the best thing that we can do for them. Our job is to build confidence and instill safety. Safety is paramount. That's the most important that you start. So basically, a lesson starts off, you go through the 4 basic firearm safety rules. From there, you go into grip, stance, sight alignment, trigger control. We do all that in a controlled area, in a classroom, with a fake gun, one of those little gold, yellow Glock things. And if they graduate from it, some people in their first private lesson never even make it to the range because they may not be ready. Someone that's scared of a gun, they're at the same time, we've got an upper and a lower range. The lower range is going off. Some people are frightened just by the gunfire. So you got to get them in there a little bit at a time, build that confidence.
Yeah, for sure. So I know, like, tonight, or this is going to be airing on a different night, but like Thursdays you have pin shooting night. Mm-hmm. You shoot bowling pins. How many different classes do you have?
We have 20, 25 different classes. Everywhere from, basic pistol for everybody, a basic pistol just for women, an intermediate women's class, an advanced women's class. We do first aid, tourniquet stuff, trauma classes. We do defensive shooting fundamentals, where we're going to teach you, after you've been through some of the basic courses, we're going to teach you actually how to draw the pistol and deploy it into action. You're going to do that downrange. You're not going to be doing it, on a bench. You're going to be downrange. You're going to be drawing your pistol. You're going to be moving and shooting. You're going to have multiple targets, and sometimes that's more of an advanced class. We have an AR-15 pistol caliber carbine course where people are using carbines that are 9mm or 45, and that's a kind of a beginner to amateur class, but we get after it that day. I mean, you're going to fire 300 to 400 rounds that day. Same with the DSF class. It's 250 rounds, and it's 6 hours long. We do situational awareness. When after you've been through some of those courses, we'll bring you on. We'll just do situational awareness courses. We typically limit those to 6 people. After you go through the base of the class, then we'll have everybody go back to the classroom. We'll call you in one at a time, and we'll set a scenario up, an actual live scenario. And you'll have 2 firearms instructors on the range with you. One will serve as the 911 operator. The other will be the narrator, and we'll narrate the class, simulate the guns on your bedside table with a cell phone next to it. You're in bed. You've got a forced entry. Someone crashes your front door. You hear gunshots downstairs. They're coming up the steps. And we just keep going over, and we're raising that stress level almost to the point of failure. We'll never ask you to do anything that we just didn't train you for in some of our other classes. There's no surprises. Most of the people fail that very first scenario, and that's what we want.
So what is that scenario there supposed to look like?
You're talking like the bedroom?
Yeah. So like I'm laying in bed, somebody kicks in my front door. I have a gun in my nightstand.
What we want you to do, the first thing we want you to arm yourself.
Yeah.
We want you to take a position of dominance. We want you to make that 911 phone call, just throw the phone down. And at that point, you go to what we want to beat you in a position of dominance where you're putting that bad guy in what we call a funnel of death, a fatal funnel. So, and you want to kind of be 90 degrees from your door, not straight at them. So when they come in, you're looking at them this way. We want that act of surprise.
Okay. So, and I don't know, like Missouri law and different things like that. Is there something that, I know how it's all over the place on laws and different shit of that nature of like, can you drop someone in your house? Like if somebody comes in, like, or is that something that is just case by case? We
teach everything. You have to be in great or grave danger.
Yeah.
That's going to be it for you. You don't shoot people that are taking property. It's just property. You can get new property. You don't want to put yourself in that trick bag. So
if somebody comes in, they're stealing my TV out of my living room, or they come in, I don't know, like somebody breaks in my house at midnight, I'm thinking I'm in danger, period.
Yes, you are.
Like, I don't care if they're stealing something or anything. They're in my house. Like, that's just my thought process.
Hey, what we teach is the position of dominance. We actually go to people's houses and set up safety scenarios for them and plans to have a plan. What happens if someone crashes your front door and you're sitting in your living room? What happens? Do you have a code word? Do you have a code word to use for everybody to go to that position of dominance? You never, ever chase anybody in your house. Go to that position of dominance, call your 911, and wait there. You go out to chase that person, go confront them, 9 times out of 10, you're the one that's going to be dead.
So I have always had the theory of if someone breaks in, I've set up my bedroom where I would go, like
that's perfect.
Where I'd put the way our bedroom moves. It goes in like a direction that you would go towards, like a bathroom or something. We have a seating room off to the side.
Right.
That it just doesn't move that direction. I'm like, I'll go over there. You take the dogs that way. When they're barking that way, they're going to go that way. I got them from over here.
Right.
And just to clarify for the listeners, what you mean is like, from a legal standpoint, if they're in your house,
you don't have the right to shoot them just for being in your house.
Okay, so I didn't know that.
Yep.
I'm gonna shoot and ask questions later.
That's a slippery slope. It really is.
It is.
But if you can articulate that you are in fear of your life, you just have to articulate that that's the way you felt. Now it's different. A 6'5" guy breaks in. He's got a shotgun, and that's a whole different ball game because now he's armed. Yeah. If you hear someone downstairs, you don't know that he's armed. Maybe it's your kid coming home late at night. It's the neighbor that's drunk. We could do this all day. So that's why you call night. But it happens.
Yeah.
Are you supposed to look and see if they have a gun?
No, you stay where you're at and make them come to you. And as they're getting closer, you announce that you've got a gun. They come through that door. That's it.
Do you have to announce that you have a gun?
No, you do not.
Okay. Because I want to catch them by surprise. If they come in my bedroom, I don't want them to know where I'm at.
But you got to make sure that you're in fear for your life. You got to actually check that box.
I'm pretty sure if someone comes in my room at 1 o'clock in the morning, period, because I live with my fiance and only her, somebody's coming in that room, they're not supposed to be in the house whatsoever. Yeah, that's I feel like there's just so many different scenarios on that.
Oh yeah, there is, and that's when we do those classes, that's part of the class. We get those questions.
Yeah.
And in those classes where you go to their house and set those scenarios up, that's something they can line out and in their own house, so that situation is fully covered if anything were to happen.
Absolutely. Yep. We set code words for them. They need to come up with a code word. That's the only time they ever use that code word. And their kids and everybody in the family needs to know that's a word. You have a specific place to get to in that house, if you can get there.
Yeah. So what would you say out of law enforcement, what is probably like the craziest thing that you'd ever seen in law enforcement?
Can you say it?
Yeah. Man, you name it. All those years and responding to all those calls.
What was some of the craziest, just a couple of them?
You got me on the spot.
I did the same thing to Lance. He told me one of them, and they started telling another one. He's like, actually, I can't tell that one.
I'm actually also interested, while you're thinking about that, if you could answer this for me. What's like a good code word that would never come up otherwise?
Pineapple.
No, I use that word a lot. I love pineapple.
Rumpelstiltskin.
That one sounds pretty good. That was pretty good.
Just come up with just crazy stuff that you're not going to use in daily, and you're going to be yelling this at the top of your lungs.
Yeah.
Your family, so they go where they want to go.
See, I'm going on full stealth mode. Somebody comes in, it's gonna.
You shutting out all the lights.
Oh, it's gonna be pitch black. I would really like for Alexa to do that thing where it turns red and then it start. What's that song? What's the song with it? The deal where it's like, I wish someone breaks in my house. Their Alexa turns red, the lights all turn red, and it's.
You have a problem.
I think our Instagram feeds are different.
I think it probably is. My Instagram feeds a lot of like guns and cool shit, so I don't know what Ricky's looking at, but
Cameras.
yeah.
Just cameras.
So what would you say some of your craziest stories are?
I delivered a baby once.
Curveball. Didn't see that coming.
That's right. Neither did I.
Yeah.
What was the context of that?
I stopped a lady for, was out on 45 highway. She was coming from Leavenworth, headed towards like Parkville, and she was in an old green Grand Fury. This is probably in the early 90s. And midnight, 2 o'clock in the morning, I was on a midnight shift, and I stopped her for speed 85 something mile an hour. And so I got up to her. She was having a baby. So I called for EMS. Of course, back then it was South Platte was a volunteer fire department. So they weren't coming anytime soon. We're hoping for massed ambulance. So by the time they got there, we already had a baby boy.
He's like, meet Chuck. We're best buds now.
Yep, that was kind of crazy. I mean, just like any cop. I mean, accidents. I've seen heads and helmets. Just like Lance, we've saved people. I mean, that's you respond to those calls. You just do what you got to do.
I'm thinking, and I might totally be wrong. I think there's a lot of stuff that happens, and I feel like there's some things that's almost like movie-like when you have like a call that you get a 911 call and you go and it's just like the most crazy experience. Do you have any?
Yeah, I responded to domestic violence. Now, working with the sheriff's department back then, there was only one or two of you on for Platte County's like 450 square miles, which is pretty good sized. So there'd be two of you on. One may be up north, one may be south. Could be 25 minutes away from each other, running over 100 mile an hour to get to each other on a call. But I took a domestic disturbance call when I got there, got inside the house, trying to separate him. Well, he had shoved his wife's head through a glass coffee table. So, and he kind of wanted to fight, so we fought. Kind of tumbled down. They had like a split entry, and we were on the bottom landing. I was getting him handcuffed. Well, she comes up behind me and hits me with a fucking toaster.
What?
On the head. I got stitches from the deal, right? Her face is bleeding everywhere. I get whacked with a toaster. Of course, she stand up like a couple steps from me, so I just grab her foot and jerk her down there with me and handcuff her too, And
what was the point of doing? Why would she have beef with you?
I was arresting her husband, taking him to jail. You'd be surprised.
I know he just put my face through a glass table. But
Absolutely.
But he's mine, not
For
yours.
better or for worse?
Yeah, all the worst.
That's right. Yep.
So do you think that law enforcement came up with the craziest stories? Do you think you saw the craziest stuff? As an air marshal, did you see that much crazy stuff?
No, not really. And most of the stuff that we did, I can't talk about. So,
Yeah. So I feel like that was probably...
well, the good thing about the air marshals is their use of force was pretty cool. It's just two guys on a plane. You flew with a partner, and that was it, dude. You're at 35,000 feet. Shit went south. You had to solve the problem. There wasn't going to your lapel mic and say, hey, I need backup, roll back up. It was it.
Yeah.
So you had to be pretty tough and a great shot. All people ask me all the time, what happens when you shoot a handgun on a plane? It goes through the fuselage. I said, that never happens with air marshals.
You don't miss.
We don't miss.
Yeah, I feel like that's a pretty crazy job on there's no time for reaction of good, bad, and different. I feel like you have probably a lot more leeway on what to do.
No off switch on a Tiger.
Yeah, I feel like they pretty much say, like, you do whatever has to be done.
Yep.
No ifs, ands, or buts.
Yep.
And I feel like law enforcement does catch a lot of heat now for
They do.
anything they do, which
It's a crazy ride now. I can't imagine doing it all over again.
I feel really bad for people that go into it now.
Yep.
That, once again, I mean, these are public servants, people out trying to protect you, and people want to have a problem with them. But once again, you're going to get your face smashed in a glass table, then you're going to throw a toaster at the guy that's trying to save you.
Yeah.
Yep.
Makes a lot of fucking sense.
Yep.
And it's, I don't know. It's a crazy world we live in today for sure, that I couldn't do it right now. But were your guidelines in the late 90s, early 2000s anywhere close to what they are now? No?
We'd have been fired, most of us. And it's not we didn't abuse people. It's just it was a different time.
Yeah.
Different way of doing things. You know, all within policy. You know, I do have a Lance story.
Let's hear it.
All right. Lance had just started on our SWAT team with us, the SRT team. And he'd been on the perimeter team and was trying to get onto the actual entry team. I was the team leader. At that time, I was the team leader of the... When I first started with the Sheriff's Department, I went there, I was a point man. I was a point man for quite a while, first guy through the door. And then I got demoted. I call it demotion because they promoted me to team leader. So I went from first to fifth.
I was going to say, demoted, going like you're not the first one in the door?
Yeah, demoted like they took my point man status away from me, which I loved, to make me the team leader.
Okay.
So I went from being first through the door to fifth through the door. By the time I get in there, all I was a traffic cop. No hands-on anymore. None of the good stuff. You know, why you did it.
No getting hit in the head with a toaster.
No getting hit in the head with a toaster. And so we were doing a meth lab in Platte County. And it was tricky because it had several different buildings we had to cover, so we had to spread the team out a little bit. So I actually Lance was on the perimeter team, but I needed him to search the main house with me. So there was just two of us going to bust this door in this main house. And as we got up there, you know, I bust in. I'm team leader back to point. He's behind me because he's not really done that yet, you know, training. And so we're going through the house, you know, and it's dark and it's pitch black in there, you know, and got your lights on. We get to these long steps, and I'm like, Lance, you're always bitching about you want to be on the team. You're taking point up them steps.
Don't worry, I'm right behind
exactly. I'm right behind you, Bubba.
And how'd that go?
Oh, it was good. He was pumped. He was scared to death, I'm sure, going up. When we got up there, we did catch a naked chick, run around. But yeah, other than that, it was all clear.
Lance tackle her.
She gave up.
Yeah. You probably get quite the adrenaline rush doing that.
Oh yeah, it's cool. That's why you do it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really, if any operators anywhere, that's the deal. It's that rush. I mean, you're scared to death. You know, the van's pulling up. You think you got to pee, and as soon as that door opens, it's on.
Game time.
Game time.
So how many people normally, you said first to fifth, was there 5 going in?
No, you had 6, sometimes 7 with the Ram guy, because the Ram guy hit the door and he went in last. But the team leader, you know, you go in and you're basically, you know, you got 4 guys going in front of you. One goes in, he goes, whatever, the point man determines where you're going.
Okay.
His job is to go he has to be the best shot and one of the toughest on the team. And when he goes in the door, he determines where to go. His job is to go to the threat. Whatever he deems the biggest threat, that's where he goes. 2 goes the opposite way from him. 3 goes with 1. 4 goes with 2. And then I'm stuck in the freaking middle, not doing a damn thing.
Yep.
You're like, you guys got it handled.
It's all over with by the time you get in there.
You like walk in, you're like, sup, I'm here. Glad you guys got it done.
Exactly.
I got the paperwork, guys. Don't worry.
So in the years that you did that, how many houses did you guys go into?
Oh, I couldn't even tell you. Lots.
So you just did that shit all the time?
Yeah.
Dang.
Was that like once a day?
Oh no, he didn't want that much. It was a secondary job for us. Everybody was either detectives or road patrol, and we're just assigned to the SRT team.
So is it like you came in on a Thursday, they're like, hey, gotta go knock this, the phone call comes up, and how do you get yourself prepared just to be like, hey, all right, this is time?
You're just training.
Yeah.
We had some pretty good training. We were in cahoots with Leavenworth, and let us use the honor farm out there on 45 Spur. So we train out there a bunch.
Yeah.
We went to a place called APT down in Nixa, Missouri. BJ Johnson, ex-Navy SEAL dude, he was a good dude. We did a lot of training with him. We did a lot of SWAT training with him and shooting entire houses. And
so I'm assuming that you came up with like I feel you have a different trust level probably with those guys than most human beings.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
That
I mean, the guy behind you's got his gun pointed at the back of your head some of the times, you know.
yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a whole different level.
Yep. Well, we train that way. I mean, you train shooting next to each other, and I mean, it's live stuff.
Yeah.
Train like you fight like you train.
So you had the law enforcement, you had Air Force, you had sheriffs, you had air marshal. Was there anything else in there, or was that pretty much?
No, that was pretty much it.
So what had you?
He says pretty much it. Like that's not a lot.
Yeah. What made you transfer from one to another during those transitions?
Money, really, for getting out of the military. You know, they were going through. This is back way before you guys were even around. Ram Rudman bills where they're doing budget cuts in the military. I'd been in March Air Force Base for 4 years. I was tired of Southern California. I wanted to go back overseas someplace. But it wasn't happening. They weren't doing reenlistment bonuses, and they weren't doing BOPs, which is base of preference to go someplace else.
You were ready to go back to Korea.
So I would have went back to Korea. It was cool. Not there. I want to go. I want to go something a little bit further north, up Osan around Seoul. Would have been cool. But yeah, and then it was a cool gig.
Yeah, it sounds like it. What would you say the future of Claycomo shooters looks like with everything that you guys are doing moving forward? With you guys have revamped the ranges, like what all have you done revamp wise so far, and what do you have coming forward in the future?
When we got it, it was pretty much a mess, but we remodeled everything. We redid the floors, redid the ranges, LED lighting everywhere. Painted the old range used to be like a gray, dingy, just a cement block. We painted it white, run black stripes down it, red foot markers, yard markers all the way down how far away you're shooting. Started a program. We have a platinum member program, which you guys saw the lobby up there, and it's still in. You know, we're going to remodel that too at some point. Training is kind of the where we want to go. I mean, that's really anybody can sell a gun.
Yeah.
You know? Our motto is we would rather you leave without a gun than leave with the wrong gun.
Got it that time. Nailed it.
Yeah, with me though. That was Robbie.
I say he nailed it every time.
Yeah.
I know. Or what was it? We want you to buy all your guns here, not just one.
Yeah, we don't want to sell you one gun. We want to sell all of them to you.
Yeah.
And how do we do that? That's our thing.
Yeah.
Is customer service.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
You don't treat people like shit. You treat people exactly like you want to be treated. You know, make them special because they are. I mean, they're paying the bills.
I think your Platinum Club lounge area and private shooting range upstairs is pretty fucking dope.
Yeah, it is pretty cool.
What all does that entail?
Platinum members, basically, they pay $600 a year, which is cheap. They shoot free from that point forward. There are no range fees. Targets are free. Shit, you even get a candy bar and a soda. You can bring a guest for free. Rental guns are free. You really own the place.
So you could pay $600, not even owning a gun, and go in there and shoot for free, basically, just besides ammo.
Yep, that's it.
Dang.
Yeah, it's a great program, man. And we have probably 25 or 30 platinum members.
If you're signed up for the VIP, just curious, are you able to do training with, like, sign up for those classes if the gun ranges or the guns are free to learn training on this?
Yeah, absolutely. If you're a platinum member, that rental's free, even for a course. Yep.
Cool.
We do the other thing, training, we do CCW, which is a carry concealed weapon. You know, in Missouri, we do. The other thing I'd like to say about everybody that works for us, this is different than any other gun shop you guys have ever been in. Everybody that works for me is a certified firearms instructor and a range safety officer.
That's a big deal.
No counter cowboys. We don't got any jackasses behind the counter at all.
I feel like you have a wealth of knowledge that is at that store.
I got Kansas City officer, was 32 years. He was actually my jiu-jitsu instructor.
Which one was that?
Chris Lean. He wasn't there.
He was, yeah.
You'll like him. I still can't beat him up, but I mean, he trained at the Olympic Center, Colorado Springs.
Dang.
He's a badass.
Do you still give him you still test him every once in a
Oh
while?
no, hell no.
Not anymore.
There's always someone tougher. You know, he's getting up there. He's about the same age I am. So, but then Lance was with Platte County, you know, for a lot of years, and Mike Yurchek, one of my range guys, he was with Platte County. Craig Baker, one of my range guys, he did 24 years at Platte County. Robbie, you met last night, he was a jarhead, crayon eater.
And then your female instructor, do you have one or more?
2. I've got Kamika Knight,
Okay.
and then Kimberly Bartlett. You met Kimberly last night, yeah.
She seemed very, very knowledgeable on what she was going over.
She's got a cool story. I mean, I don't know if she told you the story or not.
I don't think she did.
Yeah, she came in and her and her husband Clint, good dude. He's a diesel mechanic guy, and he was wanting to have a gun in the house because, you know, he goes out and fixes diesels on the road, and it's kind of iffy. So he wanted to get a gun, and she's like, I'm the first person. If we're going to have a gun in the house, I need to know how to use it. So she'd come in, and I'd set her up with the private lesson. She went through the private lesson with me, scheduled a couple more, and she goes, well, how do I get better? I'm like, we continue to take courses and go on and on. She's like, okay. So it's like our 4th or 5th private lesson together. And I said, at this point, I'm going to switch you off. You know, let's put you with Lance a time, Chris a time. We all teach the same thing. We all have a standard way that we teach, but everybody's different, you know, the way we approach it. So I want to get her all those aspects. And then she comes to me, she's okay, how do I do what you do? I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, I want to be a firearms instructor. I'm like, well, if you're serious, you need to take a couple more courses, go through one of our courses, and then I'm going to put you in touch with a guy named Bruce, who's a big NRA guy, and you're going to pay for yourself to go through the NRA firearms instructor course. If you do that, you'll show me that you're serious, and then we'll go from there. Well, she did. She did exactly what I told her to do. And then she come back, and I said, I'll pay for you to go through the USCCA's firearms instructor course, which is a 3-day, it's hard as shit.
Yeah.
You know, and I was firearms instructor at both the Sheriff's Department and the Air Marshals, and it was tough.
She seemed, and I mean, I feel like she's probably really good with people.
She is.
I feel like she probably does really well with females coming in there. And once again, I don't want to say this in a bad way, but I feel like a lot of times even females are a little bit more fearful of guns than males. And just because probably more males tend to have guns. And I think in today's world, it's getting even more important for females to have guns, that knowledge of how to use guns, and with the shitty world that we're in on what people will do, that I think that is pretty cool that you guys have that ability to have females in there to do that.
Well, a lot of the other places, and I'm not knocking any of them in town. I mean, got buddies over to Bullet Hole, a guy named Brian. He's quality. I send my Kansas guys over there to go through the CCW classes. But a lot of them, they'll have an all-women's class. Well, then they got some jackass guy, you know, some knuckle dragger teaching these women, right? That were maybe prior police, military, something like that. That's not what they need. They need someone that they can identify with. Mm-hmm. You know, we talked about, who was with me last night? We talked about thigh gap. I learned about thigh gap from listening to one of her classes, right? Yeah. Like, okay. So that's why they're together, because I couldn't tell you how to put a bra holster on. I can't tell you how to put a corset holster on. Yeah. Guys are, you know, I carry one way and one way only. That's it.
You could try showing us how to put a...
Yeah, no, you're good.
Just an option.
You're not going to like it if
I do. I had a question and I just blanked on it.
It's because my joke was so...
Oh, yeah. On the conceal and carry in Missouri, Missouri is not a state that is required by law anymore to carry, but you were telling us that there's a lot of different factors that go into that.
It is, right.
I want to touch on that.
You need to know every jurisdiction you're going through and know what their laws are on open carry and concealed carry without a permit. Because it's possible that if you don't have a permit, you're in the wrong place at the wrong time, you get a do not pass go, do not collect $200, straight to jail.
Is that just like the city or the county, or
could be? It could be a county ordinance. Counties follow state law, so it's not a problem. But like townships, cities, villages, anything that's incorporated.
So if I'm driving through some county down in southern Missouri and I get pulled over, they can have a non-conceal.
That's true.
And then take me to jail. Mm-hmm. Then what do I get there and they say, hey, Missouri overruled us, you're free to go?
No. Missouri doesn't overrule. That's the only law that you can overrule as a state law, is that law.
So that county can overrule the state on it? Mm-hmm. So then what kind of discipline measure happens on it?
It's a city infraction. I'm sure I have no idea as far as the legal aspect of that goes.
Yeah.
So what we tell people, I mean, you can't, if you don't have a CCW, you can't leave the state.
Okay.
So we tell them it's a good feather in your cap. It gives you some kind of training, which the CCW is mediocre at best. I mean, it's a basic class. You're going to shoot, we allow you to shoot 20 rounds of practice where my firearms instructor can actually make corrections on that first 20 rounds, and then 20 rounds for the actual qualification we can't help you on unless it's a safety violation. That's it. That's all Missouri requires. Done. No additional training. You go 5 years, pay $50 at your county. They renew it for another 5 years, $50. There's no training required. That's why we're so stringent on we need more training. Everybody that comes through there, we try to convince them like this, don't be that guy. Cops are some of the worst ones in the world. You know, as a firearms instructor, some of the guys, the older dudes, they come to the range to shoot. 6 months later, they come back to the range. That's the only time their guns have been out of the holster for practice, qualifications.
That's crazy.
It's true.
I mean, I'm almost speechless on that, and the fact that there's people that carry a gun all the time that I may shoot more than they do.
Most people that do the CCW, I don't know the actual number on it, but most people will probably never, ever shoot that gun again. They get it just to have it.
Yeah.
Yep. So I would like to see Missouri do an additional training aspect. I really would. You know, before you have to do another qualification. You have to go through another class.
I think people to just own guns should, I don't know, I think it'd be hard to set up something because there's so many people live out in the country that can shoot on their land and different like aspects of that where they're probably a lot of the people I know that are most familiar with a gun that are the best shots I know are people that probably never stepped foot in a range before.
Right.
But I feel like there should be some sort of qualification of people just knowing how to handle guns. Like, I know when I went and got my hunting license forever ago, it was in, I think, Bass Pro or Cabela's. They have like a room you sit in, and they pretty much tell you like, hey, this is a gun. Right. This is what you're hunting with. Don't point it at people. Here's your hunting license.
Yeah, we've talked about that too. We've done a few free classes on gun safety.
Yeah.
You know, we do a kids thing. Eddie the Eagle through the NRA.
Mm-hmm.
We do a free kids safety course.
And I think that's just understanding like, hey, this is how it works. And then also going into, once again, when you're around gunfire more, and it's the same thing if you're training a bird dog. That dog's never been around gunfire and you take him out to a field, he's going to run. But you get them around it and they're just accustomed to it.
Yep.
You talk about people coming in that they're fearful of just the sound first. It is something that's way louder than anything else.
Yes.
That you're probably going to experience. But I think that just, I think it's crazy that there's cops that come in that only shoot once every 6 months.
Yep.
I mean, I'm glad they're only shooting once every or they're not shooting every day on the job. But at the same time,
we're talking about training.
Yeah.
I don't know. We all go out, and a lot of our friends have land. We go out, shoot clays, shoot plates, just whatever on a weekend, and the people protecting us every day only shoot once every 6 months.
No, it's a percentage of them. There's some hard chargers out there.
Yeah, that's not all of them.
Yeah, no,
we're not grouping them all in one basket.
No, let's not.
Yeah,
let's not.
Let's make a headline out of that.
Yeah, exactly. It's just a thing.
Yeah. So if you had a recommendation for anyone that's wanting to maybe buy their first firearm, what would you recommend? Come in, get a class, start off.
First thing, my guys are going to fit you to that firearm.
Okay.
Not every gun fits every person. You know, there's several different makes and models of them out there. So first thing when you come in, you're going to see one of my sales guys, and they're trained to fit you. Like I said, that's why they're all firearms instructors. They know what happens. We fit you with the firearm, then we'll set you up with a private lesson. They'll send you up to me or any of the rest of the guys. every guy has a different day of the week that he does private lessons. They come in on their day off for private lessons and split the money.
Hell yeah. Any final thoughts in here? We're hitting close to time. I think we've hit on so much stuff. Like I said, I'm kind of speechless on all the very highly decorated and the different jobs that you have had. And
well, next time I'll think of some good stories for you.
Yeah, I feel like there's tons of them. I think when you have that many great stories and you're put on the spot, you're like,
yeah, I was like, where do you want to go with this?
Yeah. See, normally it's just like, oh, I have like 3 cool stories. I'll tell you one of the 3.
We're going to get really in-depth or not?
Yeah.
Give me direction next time.
See, I feel like 99% of the population, that shit's not like regular.
Right.
So then when you're like working in that stuff all the time, it was like, yeah, it's just like what we did. And that happened on Wednesday. So, no, I'm very thankful that you came on. We're excited to be working together as partnership
Absolutely.
with marketing, and it's always cool having a gun shop. So I don't think most marketing companies probably have gun shops on their roster. So if you need anything, do you have any final thoughts?
I'm good to go. I mean, I'm looking forward to the next time.
Yeah, cool. If you ever need anything gun-wise, you ever need ammo, you need anything gun-related, they have all kinds of other cool stuff in the shop. You need classes, you need training, whatever it is, Claycomo Shooters is your spot to go.
Pig hunts.
Pig hunts, also pig hunts.
Yeah, we do. We offer a hog hunt.
When's the next one?
May 20th, 21st, 22nd, down in Oklahoma.
I'll probably be at that hog hunt.
Yep.
So if you also want a hog hunt, there's your end.
Yeah, we take customers hog hunting about every other month.
Pretty pimp. So MMG does not take customers hog hunting yet. We'll put that on the agenda. But I'm going to say that concludes the M3 podcast today. Thanks for listening. If you get any positive, if you're enjoying listening, enjoying the M3 podcast from any other episode, please help us out, share, send it to a friend. It helps us grow, expand the network of the M3 podcast, and bring more people in to grow, listen, hear the cool stories and everything that we have on here. So I'm going to key Dalton.
Thanks for listening to the M3 Podcast. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. Want to learn more? Check us out on Instagram at Moss Marketing Group, on Facebook at Moss Marketing 58, or on our website at mossmarketinggroup.com.